Hello and welcome to Chessbook Reviews 122. Today I intend to talk about one player, and what a player, Mikhail Tal. Tal was born in 1936. Obviously, the Russians. Hang on, having a little drink. Knew all about the Second World War. I'm not about to give you a history lesson. I'm not in a position to do so. And he lived to 1992, which was a very short life, really. And in that time, he played some amazing chess. I've got 4 books about Tal here, and quite a few others which aren't here at the moment, and I'm going to do it in 2 parts. So the first book I'm going to show you was published by Batsford's, and here's Tal on the cover. This wasn't quite his fallow period, but it wasn't the time he became world champion, and then he became ex-world champion, and he never quite got the stability to go back and take the title away from Karpov, the very young Karpov, or the up and down Fischer, or the erudite Spassky, or the phlegmatic Petrosian, or even the old git Botvinnik, although he did beat Botvinnik, of course, as we know. But Botvinnik got his revenge. This is a book by Hilary Thomas. Hilary has had quite a checkered life, and I'm not 100% certain he's still alive. This book deals with Tal's games from 1967, the 50th anniversary of the Russian Revolution, to 1973, when Tal's form was looking absolutely brilliant, and the possibility of a match between Fischer and Tal was getting ever closer, and it would have been an amazing match, if only because the two guys really got on. Fischer got on with very few people in his life, but he really got on with Tal. Here's Moscow 67, the cross table. The Russians were at some pains. It's interesting that Petrosian, as world champion, finished halfway down the table. And Allman, a very strong player, was to go on to play in the candidates, came last, or last equal anyway. But we haven't come here to talk about the East German Grandmaster. Let me show you the games and how they're presented. Not all of them have notes, and those that do have notes are in figurines like Informator. You can teach yourself, I was going to say in 5 minutes, might take a little longer, what the figurines mean, and there's nothing, and it's no hardship if you don't know what in this particular case certain little, cross or triangle or whatever, or upturned somersault means. You can look it up, and they provide you with a key. And if they don't provide you with a key, lots of other books do. Actually, it looks like they haven't provided you with a key. Well, you can find the answers in the Informator or the Yugoslav publications it was then. So going through is the cross table of Parnu 1971. There we are. Oops. Looks like they could have done with Larson or Portish, or even, dare I say it, Bobby Fish. Fischer was nervous of playing in Russia. He would have done so, I think. I'm trying to think if in his career, have he ever pushed a pawn in a formal tournament in Moscow? Must have done, mustn't he? Can't remember. Here's the tournament which I saw Tal as a child. I went along. when I was 15 to Hastings, and Tal tied for first place. And you'll notice also Ray Keane did extremely well, coming halfway up the table. The very young Tony Miles. That was Miles's big debut. I don't think anybody realised how ambitious Miles was. Here's the Chigorin Memorial. And once again, Tal was in first place. Look at that. That's not messing about, is it? Not a single defeat in 15 rounds. Not a single defeat. Let's have a look at one more. Like I say, in Holland, of course. And here we are again. He scored 10.5 out of 15. Not a single defeat. Look at that. Balashov second. Really strong players. Lebojevic, Ribley, Nydorf, Szabo. All of them really strong players. Some Dutch masters bringing up the rear. Zwiedma, Ray, Hartog. This is one of a trilogy. I've got the other two, and you'll be seeing those, I hope, in future Chinwags. The next is Mikhail Tal's Best Games of Chess by Peter Clark. This was a bell. They changed the title and reprinted it. Statsford. This is one of the best books, not just about Tal, but one of the best books anywhere ever, I would have thought. Here's Tal, glossy insert photo. Peter Clark, very conscientious writer, author. He also spoke Russian, which he learnt for national service. He was having problems at university, and he was lucky that he was press ganged into national service in the way those days all young men were, and it was there that he was groomed, I suppose, for the diplomatic service, and he polished his Russian. I would imagine he had some words of Russian before then. Peter goes right back, I think, to the beginning of Tal's career. And Clark wrote a fair bit. This was perhaps his best book. Others might say his book on Petrosian is his best book. It doesn't matter. They're both of them cracking. Peter told me when I wrote a book about Peter. Peter told me that he spent about a day on each game. Nowadays they press a computer button and that's it. Well, Peter didn't. This was written 60 years ago and more. Starting in 1951 and going forward to 1960 when he beat Botvinnik with Tender Care. Tender Care. Introductions. Games against Rossetto. Vigorich. I'm just trying to find an index so I can exactly give you some. 3 games against Tolush. 2 games against Olafsson. 2 games against Bobby Fischer. 4 games, all from his 1960 successful challenge against Botvinnik. And various other grandmasters. Most of these people you would have heard of. And 2 games against Keres, as I said. moves are in English descriptive notation, which isn't to every taste, I admit. There we are. As you can see, the text is fairly dense. The diagrams could be a little bit more plentiful for modern eyes and ears. It could be a bit more plentiful, I think, but that's as may be. And Peter Botvinnik's last effort to save his title. 3 games down with 6 to play, he went back to his old and trusty weapons, but to little avail. And you won't need any surprise. You will not be surprised yourself, is what I'm trying to say. Tal plays the English, and Botvinnik replies 1 pawn to King's Bishop 4, the Dutch. Says he's rarely adopted it since his drawn match with Bronstein in 1951. And he trots it out here, in fact, the Leningrad system. And Peter explains the origin of the name and explains that Hugh Alexander liked to play it. He certainly did. It was an awkward, bloody system. And at the adjournment, Tal, it was white, wins. There's 2 Dutch defences in the book, but there's an enormous amount of Sicilians and King's Indians. And as a young man, he and Bobby Fischer racking up the points with those 2 systems. I'll show you one other page. This is from 1958, a very, very long time ago. And here's his game against the Canadian Gather Foster. Foster was must have come to Lloyd's Bank in the 1970s. And I should think he probably had quite an interesting life. Talks about the Karakan and the Panov-Botvinnik attack, which Foster didn't play, but had he played, I'm sure Mikhail Tal would have been ready for it. If you see it around, give it your time. And I can only repeat, it's also published by Batfords. This is the hardback Bell. Now this is the one of the most popular books ever written. The Life and Games of Mikhail Tal. Tal's annotations in this book are a world apart from ordinary games collection. No reader could fail to be swept along by his passion and vitality as he sets the scene for an encounter and then recounts every psychological twist and turn. About that, Mikhail Tal was the magician from Riga. He was indeed. Was the greatest attacking world champion of them all. And the enchanting autobiography chronicles his extraordinary career with charm and humour. He did have charm and he did have humour. And there he is. He also had hair in those days. He lost his hair, but he never lost his love of cigarettes, alcohol, and above all, chess. This book was published in 1997. Originally, it came out in 1975. I don't think I got it in those days. And this has been, it says that this is just being converted to algebraic notation by John Nunn. Who better? And it lists Tal's results. Year by year. As you can see, he played in about 5 or 6 or 7 events. Some quite small, others enormous. And it shows examples of his early games. My first steps, it says. Yes, I bet they weren't tentative though. Clark book began in 51. Let's see what we've got here. First full game anyway. This is in 49. When he was 12, playing against Zilber, who also played at Hastings. It's the same guy, I'm thinking. This is an enormous book. It must be 400, coming up for 500 pages. 496. There we are. And it has interviews with Tal and his comebacks. He was so often ill, poor man. This wonderful game from 1971 where he beat Ullmann in a French defence. It was a game so often played through. There it is, look, Bishop G5, you can see it. You can see Ullmann with the pawn on E6, as he so often had. You might be a specialist, but you don't specialise in losing games like that in a hurry. It was a lesson. And today it's a lesson too. A candidate again. Yes, he was the crown prince of the comeback, was Mikhail Tal. As a young man, he became world champion, but he never was just challenged quite so strongly again. The chapter is called Unwell Again. He was too, I expect. Here he is as world champion. Very rich notes. Look at that. That's worth noting, isn't it? Look, one move. 1c4, that's all the whole page is about, apart from this bit up here. What a cracking book. This book has been jealously guarded by a number of editors and publishers. If you see it, you get it. And my last book is in this same series as the first book I showed you, by Hilary Thomas, out of print now, I feel sure. And it deals with Unilia for Tao up until 1959. It starts with his schoolboy games, of which probably we can't have enough of. It says he was born in 1936. He learnt the moves around the age of 7 by watching games played in his father's waiting room. His father was a doctor. You can see I've been through these and putting little ticks and crosses against the games, just to show that I played through them or enjoyed them or something. Believe you me, I did enjoy them. And so will you. Yes, we could do with a few more notes than we're provided with. But nevertheless, there's diagrams, aren't there? There's 3 on a page. Yes. Yes. These are from pretty obscure Latvian tournaments. And Tal, when he came onto the world stage, he did become very, very ill with cancer. And pictures of him when he was an old man are very sad, because his face looks like a bag of bones, and you think, what happened to the Misha of old? And the answer is, of course, is he got old. Here he is, winning the USSR Championship in 1958. with Petrosian, Bronstein, Averbach, Polygaevsky, Spassky, Geller, Gergenitz, Boleslavsky, Korchnoi, Krogius, Kotov, Taimanov. Everyone a winner. How about that? This is by Hilary Thomas and was published about 40 years ago by Batsford's. I like it. So we'll leave it there for the moment, but as I can only repeat, I will come back to talk about Tal again. Please, while I think of it, like and subscribe. I haven't got as many people doing so as I would like. This has been Chess Book Reviews 122. I'm James Pratt, and neither are you.